So what are the characteristics of an agent being a scammer? There's a few things that agents have the power and ability to do that they should never do. There's some things that they're allowed to do that they should never do. And there's some things that are completely illegal and they still do it. There are a lot of agents out there that can scam and do scam. And I hope one day they get caught. Unfortunately, guess who loses at the end of the day? You're the one that's going to lose out on that. There's a couple ways that you can scam a person. One, you give them the wrong coverages and you purposely know that they don't know what they're buying. This happens a lot. I've worked at a couple companies that do this and it's unfortunate. So when you're talking to a client, they zone out. They don't know exactly what you're saying all the time. So you're talking on the phone and you're like, hey, this is your bodily injury. It's 250, 500. The uninsured motorist is also 250. They're like, I don't know what any of this stuff means. Great. Yup. Yup. All right. And then you're getting an $8,000 a $30,000 deductible, and you're getting this, and you're getting this, and you're getting this. How's that sound? Sounds amazing. Great. And they just threw in that $30,000 deductible, if it was even an option, to make themselves cheaper. So there are tactics that do include raising the deductible that will help people but hurt them in some situations. So it really just depends on the type of person. And that's a part that's unfortunate. I've seen a lot of people do that where they do mix it in. What I've actually done, and more recently, is I mix in the good coverages with that. So I'll typically tell them, you're getting the bodily injury 250, 500. So if you hurt someone, that'll cover them in the event that they're injured. You've also got the property damage at 100,000 in case you damage their car. They're like, yep. And then you've also got the uninsured motorist. I've also got the med pay at 10,000 just in case someone in your car gets hurt per person. Does that sound like enough? And then I'll let them pause for a minute, so we'll take a break in between. 10,000 per, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Okay, and if we're too high, I get it. We can bump that down, but let's start with here first. So I give them options and I push for the better coverage options because in most cases, depending on the people you're talking to, in most cases, those are the better fits, is to give them the better options. And then you go over all of the better pieces. And they may get to the end and they're like, well, you're $100 higher. I don't think I would like that. No problem. Well, let's take a look at why I'm higher. So we added that 10,000 today for the med pay. Do you have any med pay now? Well, no. So we're going to remove that off. So that's a coverage that we're going to take off of that part because it's not needed. So there's all those little tweaks that you can do when you're doing a policy. If you've already started as an agent, you know what I'm talking about. That's another video where we'll actually go through that on more of the how to talk to customers, but that's a way that some agents scam people. They go through and they rush the talk and people get annoyed or they get bored and they do that. And then they're not going to read it. There's 50 some odd pages of disclosures. I don't know if a lawyer would even read it, to be honest with you. So they're going to sign it and accept whatever coverage that you gave them as long as it looks similar to what their other agent may have given them. Even then, I don't know if they're going to read that. So it's really up to the person at the end of the day, but you're the agent. If you know that they're not paying attention, don't screw them over and don't give them bad coverages. The other part, the way that agents scam customers is when they get a good deal. Let's say you're calling around and you don't like the prices that you're paying and your agent didn't help you, or you just skip past them and you're not dealing with them. So you call a couple other companies and they give you a really good rate. I've seen this happen a lot. So I've quoted customers and I gave them double their liability limits. I gave them the same deductible. Essentially, it's the same policy with better coverages and it was cheaper. And then I get a phone call a few minutes later, be like, yeah, I'm staying with my current agent. He made mine cheaper. And I'm sitting here scratching my head like, that's not possible. What did they change to make your policy cheaper? Every once in a while, the customer will show me and they'll be like, here's what they did. And I'll look at it and I'll say, you realize they doubled your deductible. They not only did I double your coverages, they cut your coverages in half just to be competitive with me. So you're going to lose out if you have a claim. You may save $300 today, but if you have a claim, you just lost $300,000 in a claim. And sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't, sometimes they're embarrassed and they don't even switch. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I have to point that out because it's my only shot to show them what's really happening. But as an agent, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be cutting things just to make yourself competitive, to save a couple bucks, to get one client to stay with you. Now, if that client loves you and they're willing to work with you, sure, maybe we raise your deductible, maybe we look at a couple tweaks, but if it's drastic and it's really going to affect them in a negative way, You shouldn't be doing that. That's just wrong. Now, some agents I've actually seen beyond illegal where they actually took the payment from the customer, processed it on someone else's payment, and kept the money. That's completely illegal. So if you're doing that, you may get jail time for that. I've seen it happen. All of a sudden they've got all these new toys and they're doing well, and then problems start to occur where the customer's like, why am I paying two bills? And then they try to get the insurance company to back it up and say, well, that was a mistake, we'll fix that. And then the other company didn't know that they're not getting paid correctly, and then it just becomes a fiasco. I can promise you, if you've done that, or if you're doing that and you're constantly doing that, you're going to get caught. It's just a matter of them connecting the dots, or connecting the connections between, oh my gosh, there's 20 of these in our system. It's all the same agent. Now, customers might think that you're a scammer just in general. Some people just hate insurance. I get it. That's part of the way the world is. You're not going to appease everyone. Some people don't take the time to realize what the point of insurance is. They don't care. It's just something that they just assume is horrible. It's the corporations. They're out to get your money, which they're a business. Yes and no. They do want your money, but they're not out to completely rob you of it. They're trying to make a profit in the stock market, so to speak. Another video, I'll link that up here. At the end of the day, it's your job to overcome that objection and explain and figure that out, where a lot of agents, what they do is they just follow suit and they go ahead and follow what the guy wants. So he may want state minimums. That guy doesn't trust the insurance, so he just wants to get by and whatnot. If you don't take the time to explain it to him, or at least try to explain it to him, you may be doing him a big disservice. It's not necessarily scamming the person, but it's not good for them either. Sure, will they end up being mad? Sure. Will they maybe not join your insurance? I honestly probably wouldn't prefer that person in the first place, because if they want that low of a coverage, they don't need me. What's the point in going to me? Just go to progressive.com or go to some other website where you can choose the lowest price, and you'll get a very similar premium, but you're never going to get that advice, that help, that assistance, the claims handling, all of that stuff with an agent. So that's a choice that they have to make. But if that's the route they want to go, more often than not, I recommend that they go that route or find an agent that can handle that type of low premium or that type of mentality that they have against the insurance. So to add on to some of the shady sort of scammy things that some agents do, is it's actually tricking the company and not the customer. So a lot of the times there's guidelines that don't meet the criteria. The roof is 50 years old and it should be 10 years old. So they just ignore that part and put the wrong date, or they purposely choose something against what the company accepts just to squeeze that policy in there. It happens a lot, and a lot of companies are very lenient with it, which is something that I do like, because a lot of times it does happen on error, but some agents exactly know what they're doing and they just do it. They don't care about the guidelines. They just want to put $1 in their pocket. One of the examples is a customer may not apply for a discount for having a certain grade or a certain marital status or a certain home ownership or whatever the case is. Like, there's a lot of discounts that you can apply for. I'll link those videos here. But if they don't fit that, then you shouldn't be putting them listed on the policy left and right. Some of them you can default just because the companies and their marketing reps say, yeah, that's fine. If you want to just throw that on a few of them, that's up to them. So if they know that it's going to win or lose their business, a lot of marketing reps or a lot of underwriters might even approve those. But at the end of the day, if you're constantly putting them in there, there's a reason that they put them there. They don't want to, even if it's a $10 difference in premium, they don't want that client not to pay what they're supposed to, because eventually that increases the loss ratio, because they're not taking that $10, but they're paying that extra $100 out. And so that small 10% gap at the bottom does make a very big impact on the premium overall. Now that one, if you do it too much, you could also lose your appointment with that company. So as an agent or an agency, if you want to keep good standings, you need to make sure that you don't just cheat the system just to cheat it. I'll give you one last really good example. Is there's a conference that I went to. I'm not going to name the company, but they don't do inspections on homes. And they decided to inspect all of the homes in a specific state. And when they started doing that, they had noticed that they had over 50, I think they were at 50 and counting, pools that literally weren't insured. They were sitting there, one of the highest liability risks, diving boards, all of that, that should have been on the policy, but they were purposely left off. And they realized really quickly that that was a huge, huge possibility of having a major claim. So putting the right coverage is not only for the customer, but doing it for the company. You got to make sure that you're doing that correctly. Most of the phone calls are recorded, so at the end of the day, they usually can catch the person if they're telling the customer one thing and writing something completely different, or purposely ignoring the guidelines and writing the business. No agency wants that employee on their books anyways. They want to at least adhere to the company's rules and guidelines. If you're not a fit, you're not a fit, and we try to find a different company for you. And the last way that scams are happening with insurance companies, they don't happen so much today because it's usually when you get licensed, you learn about this company that did some pretty shady stuff. They had reps that were selling higher premium policies and higher packages at zero benefit to the customer, mainly because they got a bigger commission. So you can't necessarily recommend one company over another just to get a better commission. And there you have it. Those are some of the main ways that agents scam people. There aren't many of them out there, so that's kind of a positive there. You don't see a lot of them. I do get fighting for your business. That's one thing. Just make sure that if you're an agent, at the end of the day, if you can lay your head on the pillow and legitimately, unless you just have no conscience, then I can't help you. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're doing the right thing for the customer. There's enough people out there. You're going to win. If you stay around the flagpole long enough, you learn the coverages, you learn the system, you know what you're doing. You might be higher in a lot of situations. You might be lower. You just don't know, right? But if you take good care of them, you get as many referrals as you can, word of mouth, grow, all of that. You're going to be successful either way. So would you rather be successful cheating the system, or would you rather be successful building a solid business where people can come to you because they know that you're going to take really good care of them? They're going to send their kids to you to get advice. They're going to need your help and advice in the future, and they know that you're the person that can do it for them. I hope this was helpful, guys. Don't forget to leave me a comment below and let me know, what other scams did I miss? What have you seen some agents do that have been pretty shady that you didn't appreciate? If you're a customer as well, you can let me know there too. I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I will see you in the next one.